Hey there, welcome to saas.unbound podcast. I'm your host, Nadeina, head of growth at saas.group, serial acquirer buying wonderful SaaS businesses to take them to the next level. And here I chat with inspiring founders and experts to get an inside scoop on how they made their business success. So today with me is Christoph, founder of LinkResearchTools, Detox, URLinspector, a few more. I feel like if you Google serial entrepreneur, there will be like your picture there. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and it's great to be here and see you again.
Yeah, great to see you. I mean, we saw each other in Hamburg, and I always say it's so much fun to interview people you've actually met. But honestly, like I have a backlog of like 12 podcasts to edit and manage and distribute, and I'm like, "Oh my God, that's so much work." And you probably have like 12 businesses. Like, do you sleep? Like, how does it work?
I thought about that, when we founded just this latest company in Ireland, Reg Index or Regidex for custom indices, but also with AIPRM. The thing is, I think you get used to that. I remember 21 years ago when I transitioned from an employee to an entrepreneur, and the first month is great, the second month is great, and then you it suddenly dawns on you that this can stop at any time, right? So I had these fears. I was worried, and especially 20 years ago or so, I did SEO. I did depend 100% on Google and on Amazon affiliate commissions. And guess what? These updates, they trashed our website's traffic back then already for Christmas time. Of course, as you expected. They always did that. They never said they did, but in fact, they always crashed businesses over that time. So it started that long ago. And in fact, I don't think I can switch back, it's just there in my DNA, in my life, in my body, and something. So, yeah, I guess you get used to that, and then have some kind of trouble incident issue management that you just need to put out fires anywhere, somewhere, anyways, right? And you get used to that
Yeah.
as well. And in fact, I enjoy it.
Oh, right. So are you more of a like 0 to 1 kind of founder? Is that, the scrappiness, the like being there and waking up in the middle of the night because everything crashed kind of your gig?
Yeah, that's how AIPM actually started. I've been doing ChatGPT and prompts when it started in November and December. I've been using that. And eventually, that Saturday night after sauna, I got so annoyed with my own workflow with all these text files that I had here and there. And I thought, why is there nothing that I can use to save these? And a couple of hours later, we had the first version live. 3 days later, we had 20,000 users of that Chrome extension. And after 3 months, we already had 1.5 million users of that. So it's really, I guess, 0 to 1. Yes, I'm trying a lot. I'm doing a lot. And I'm also able to, put stuff together. I'm a developer. I'm actually quite experienced developer. And so that is the easy part, but not everything becomes a success just because it annoys me and I want to fix for myself. But yeah, that's really how it starts. And so 0 to 1 is probably a good description because I love solving riddles, solving problems for myself first, and that's how all of them started. Everything, right? I never sat down and made a business plan and market analysis. I learned all that in uni, in my marketing studies, but no, no, it always started with me first, with me having that problem. And
Yeah,
yeah.
but I mean, AirPM, I use it, and honestly, how
Mhm.
I got to use it is when ChatGPT was just like a big hype, and
Mhm.
Dirk actually contacted me, and he's like, "You're using ChatGPT, you have to use AirPM," and I was like,
Mhm.
"What the hell is that? Like, never heard of it. Let's do
Yeah,
this." Like, if Dirk
yeah,
recommends it, I tend to try it.
yeah,
But yeah, a great
yeah.
tool. Thanks for let's talk about this then first.
Mhm.
So first of all, great story. I mean, I know it a little bit, right? You had this little problem that bugged you, and then you kind of just
Mhm.
jumped on it, and like the trend was there. So you were at the right time in the right place with the right problem to
Solution,
solve.
if you want. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess the core problem back then was I didn't realize that for almost 2 months. When everybody was talking about ChatGPT and they always gave their examples, I looked at their prompts, their one sentence, write me a book to sell on Amazon. And of course, they complained about the output because the input was garbage too. So I realized they don't know how to use it right. And people don't keep logs and tabs with 20, 30, 50 sentence long prompts in their own library, in their text, in the list of text files as I had. So I realized if we give them a much better prompt that is, so to say, developed and works well, they will like that, just like I do. And that is what I call discovering fire. We see people install it and click on, one of those tabs for rewriting something or sharing it on social media, making it look nicer. These Swiss knife tool prompts just need one or two words, but the output is always amazing. And that's when they discover fire and just keep going and, exploring ChatGPT in a way or other models in a way that you could not do for a long, long time and still cannot, for example, with that GPT feature. So I guess there was a right time, the right solution, the right problem, so to say, to find. But it took me a while. And still, we were early enough to ride that viral wave. And I don't think anyone can replicate it. I mean, still today, 2.2 million users are there because we've been there in the beginning, because we built the brand, because people made these videos and blog posts. And I remember that the guy on TikTok with his shades, 50 million views on that video, the cheat code for ChatGPT. It's still our slogan today. That really helped us. And I don't know how to fabricate that, with any kind of budget, more or less, right? It's a lot of luck and right time here as well. Yeah.
Right. But I mean, you've also built a lot of different tools inside Link Research Tool. And like when I was checking it out, it was like I had to scroll for a while to like see all,
Hmm.
all the tools that you've built in there. And
Hmm.
well, we can talk all about luck, right? And trends and
Yeah.
everything. But
Yeah.
well, I think well maybe let's give it like 10%, 12,
Hmm.
20% to luck.
Yeah.
But the rest, like how do you get the idea? How is the
Hmm.
customers that are pulling you in certain direction? Is it the vision that you have and like kind of like
Hmm.
that little hack as now a lot of founders do, they like sell a feature as
Hmm.
almost a product, right? And put it on Product Hunt and
Yeah.
that's their kind of viral loop.
Hmm.
What's your thought
Hmm.
process when you were building the next thing?
Link Research Tools is a great example. We publicly launched way too soon, but also way too late in 2009. And we still have customers since then, since from back then, from 2009, paying us every month. They're old grandfathered super mini fee when there were only four tools around. And those were four tools that we had been using internally as a web agency. We were, my first company, my first business was a link building agency, an SEO agency specialized only on that link topic. And some of that software components that we had internally, one day I just said, "Oh, let's make it public. Let's sell it. Let's try that." Yeah, you cannot simply use your internal tools for public customers. That's a big learning here, but that's how it started. And over time, these tools that we used anyways got along with education for methods that were not used by other agencies. And so we slowly transitioned more or less to a knowledge pool, to a training provider as well. I did, I don't know how many workshops and trainings, online trainings, live trainings at conferences and workshops across the globe. And all these years, the additional tools were just supporting additional workflows that we either did already and had something, let's say a little shitty tool inside that I could run on the server, but you need to make it usable still, or were actually new innovations. Link Detox in 2012, for example, was the answer to Google penalizing link spam, to Google actually finally cracking down on paid links, on very artificial link building that I always argued against and trained against. I was always the high quality link guy. And I said, you know what? We got all this great link data. Let's build a little tool, a sales tool, and show them their shitty links. And then they will see how great our software is, how great our database is, etc., which turned out to be a software to actually help their problem because most of them had really bad links. And that was, I would say, another misconception where we just tried something and it turned out completely different than I expected it. It became the main driver of the business for 10 years now and still is, because links are still around. We just had these Google leaks now where people who hadn't used the word links in public for 10 years suddenly realize, oh, it's a web is a content and links. So they talk about that again. And so that is still going on very actively. But this has evolved over 15 years. Yeah, that sounds a little bit odd as well to me. So very, very, a
It's hard
very
to
long
believe,
time.
huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those tools that you're talking about, and a lot of the tools that I saw on the page, they are well, some of them are a bit less successful, some of them are a bit more successful. There is AIPRM, but
Mhm.
you're still taking them to market. You're still trying to validate all the ideas, and
Yeah.
they are getting traction. They are getting paid customers. So,
Mhm.
and I think that's kind of, well, what any founder would want, right? Just
Yeah.
act on the idea, act on a trend, get customers. How do you do that? How do you get that initial boost of growth? How do you find your first
Mhm.
customer? Is it, you know, I guess the legacy works now, right? The social
Mhm.
proof, a bit of your
Yeah.
personal network, but there
Mhm.
should be something else. I mean, like Rand Fishkin said, uh, well, if I go to somebody who likes Rand Fishkin and try to sell
Mhm.
my idea, they're going
Mhm.
to use it for 2 days if they like me, right? But if it's a shitty idea, then they're
Yeah.
still going to abandon it.
Right. Um, I would say it's just compounding over the years. I've just been around for so long, and I remember collecting email addresses in an Excel sheet and copy pasting them in my BCC in my Outlook 95 or whatever that was, really old email client on Windows. When I realized after we're around 100 that you cannot simply bulk email people that way. And that's where I started email marketing. And if there's one constant across all these 20 years, it's emails. Emails have been around before, emails are still around. They are still the second most effective marketing method that we have. And if you have that audience in a list, and that's the only audience that I think is useful for marketing. If you have an email list, you can build on that and always segment out of that. So let's say you have 1 million users of the SEO software, then you can send them an idea, an offer, or even a free trial or a coupon or whatever for that other product that is maybe related to them, that they maybe like. And that's making things so much easier over the years, of course. Yeah. Social media, Twitter, LinkedIn, I don't know. I never, made that work for any of my businesses. I goof around here and there, but when I post something and I got 50 views, I just back off and say, what a waste of my time. Dirk's memes, for example, are so much better and so much greater, but that's just not me, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm also jealous about the memes. I mean, let's be honest. But
Yeah. So everybody
uh,
has this own thing, I guess. Yeah.
that's true. That's true. But I mean, okay, since we started, talking about the uniqueness, and I obviously went to all the pages on your websites.
Mhm.
So I love the career page, right? And I firmly believe that a product can be great, right? And you can build a great customer base, but it's at the end of the day, people shape the company, and the way you build the culture and the way it's going to be
Mhm.
sold. It's your culture, it's your people who are behind. And
Mhm.
I loved it. I mean, whoever's listening, go to the careers page, to Link Research Tools, and it's amazing. It's what we just recently talked about when we had a webinar about psychological safety, how to how to address your values and how to prove your
Mhm.
values on your website, and
Mhm.
really talk about what you do in order to
Mhm.
make sure
Yeah.
that they're translated into people's minds.
Yeah.
And yeah, I want to ask you, like, how you built that culture and how you got to all those values and decided that you're going to be remote first and you're going to give people so much value and freedom
Mhm.
and independence. Yeah, what
Mhm.
was your strategy there?
And that all started a long, long time ago, um, more or less just in my mind. There are some simple, let's say, operational rules. No roll-ons on Friday. I still don't get it how companies like Google or OpenAI and all these other smarty pant guys break their stuff on a Friday evening. I don't get it. It's simple things like that where employees from 20 years ago still, remind me about that when I meet them, somewhere. Um, Part of that is my personal experience over, well, 30 years in software and IT now. Um, and then in 2012, I read Delivering Happiness from the Zappos founder, which was quite inspiring. It was talking a lot about the customer happiness that they would deliver and make that their core value, their ultimate goal. And I realized I got to sit down and write down my core values. And since then, these rules, they've been, I think, 11 or 12, then 14. It grew over the years, and then I shrinked it down again. But there's a few very easy to understand concepts, goals, and actually core values that you develop over the years, that I developed over the years, and writing them down, reminding our team about it, even as part of the sign up, the hiring process, getting them in, making them read it, making them sign it like a contract as a confirmation, um, adds to, I would say, the overall expectation. Yeah, not everyone likes these, detailed rules, and I heard some really nasty things also from job applicants. And so it also works as a filter because not only can you not please everyone in the market, you also cannot have every employee or teammate. Uh, Not everyone is a fit, and I think the stricter you are, and we're very strict. I'm very strict and detail oriented in that matter, the better over time. I looking back, I would just recommend to myself 10 years ago, just stick to these rules, live them more, enforce them more, and demand that they are lived for a cultural fit.
I mean, it makes complete sense. You're
Yeah.
choosing people to work with, right? You're in a
Hmm.
long-term, hopefully, relationship, and well, in
Yeah.
our remote first world, in a long-distance, long-term
Right.
relationship. So these are
Right.
difficult, right? So even if with
Yeah.
people you really, really love, but
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
just,
Exactly.
choosing a stranger to spend well most of your day with, communicating and making
Hmm.
decisions, I mean, it's only fair to
Yeah.
be kind
Yeah.
of firm on who you want and who you don't want to see there. So
Yeah.
thanks for
Yeah.
elaborating. I also want to ask you, because I watched another podcast with you.
Hmm.
I think it was last year. It was just when you launched AIPRM, and
Hmm.
you were talking about using it uh, for SEO and for marketing,
Hmm.
something that we are marketers, very cautious about. And
Hmm.
there's been a lot of talk like how it's going to backfire and how you have to really uh, be careful when you're doing this. Are you doing this to this day? How are you doing this? And maybe there are some tips on
Hmm.
for us to not be so afraid.
Yeah, I guess it starts with the daily drivers. Just yesterday we launched this new AIPM prompt competition for our community to develop more prompts and get prizes for that with the goal to develop and invent more Swiss knife prompts. It's daily drivers, little helpers that save so much time. For me personally, adding emojis to any kind of text that I write. I hate adding emojis manually, right? So why not have someone else suggest that? And there's this co-marketer to do it for me in one prompt. Summarizing a longer piece of text, extracting and maybe also adding the emojis already, so it works nicely. Uh, these are things that I cannot even imagine not having anymore. You cannot, prompt a ChatGPT or any other AI to do that very easily. But if you have that prompt template that I have in my favorites in AIPRM, that's an everyday work. Customer replies, customer support, enforcing a common, consistent language is something that helped me personally so much over the last 1.5 years already, because that's not my favorite topic. Yeah. And when we talk about marketing, extracting facts, details, and interesting aspects from a longer piece of text in bullets, one, to digest it myself to see if there's something useful in there in the source that I read, or generating again a summary that is very spot on and has very little fluff in there. It's my daily driver to rewrite, to rework on whatever I write. I write a lot, I write fast, but I always now use ChatGPT and my special private prompts to improve that. Be it, to make them more salesy, to make them more precise. So that's not something I can imagine not having anymore. And it's not like there's a danger in it. It's a tool for me. It's a tool like a grammar checker, a grammar and language checker, more or less. Yeah, that I can give some extra, inputs, some extra tips. If you don't have to choose, if you don't have the interesting topic, the content, the ideas, so to say, the AI won't fix it. It will just get dull and boring. But going from a rough, which is my favorite, a rough idea, a rough draft in the middle of the night, to something that you can press publish on, just got so much easier, so much more efficient. Not just for marketing, but also for software, for prototyping. Yeah.
Okay, so no original kind of content generation.
No, no. I mean, no. If you want to fill a website with 100 articles about, very standard procedures, you could do that, but why do that in the first place, right? So any kind of content spam can be produced cheaper, but it still doesn't add any value to the web or to the user. And it's not just Google who realizes that. If you don't have these original ideas, why would people, click on it or link on it? Yeah. So for the ideation, for coming up with idea, the brainstorming, that's another thing. I have these 3 ideas. What else can you come up with? That's a fantastic, also a daily driver that I think I have in my more or less DNA already that I cannot imagine living without. Of course, you can gather some more ideas, but it's always multiple prompts, I would say, that I combine here, and not the one size fits all thing. Yeah.
Right. Okay, thanks. Well, I want to talk a little bit more about AirPM, right? Just because it's
Mhm.
kind of the latest invention. And I actually had another question. Is there like a favorite kid out of all of them?
That's a great question. I'm super proud about LinkResearchTools being around for 15 years and what we have built and operated for all these years with a target, so to say, or with a baseline being Google, a black box. Um, Proud to keep it stable, to keep it performed, to keep up with all this software and security updates day and night. This operational excellence of running it, of keeping it running, is also the reason why people still stick around for 15 years now as paying subscribers there. Um, so that's the one aspect. Let's call it the grown-up kid. Yeah, you have to be proud about that, even if things are not as exciting anymore. But of course, AIPRM is my favorite daily excitement on everything, just because of the size. When you have so many users in such a short time, well, that's a success from a marketing and from a commercial, from a business standpoint. But what I'm proud about is that all the experience that we learned with LinkResearchTools went into AIPM and made it scale, made it handle that load, made it handle that success. So it was built from day one for the size that we have now and even bigger. And I guess that's a great combination of experience and luck and just foresight that I'm really proud about. Because it didn't get easier with that big numbers, right? And that's a daily surprise, a daily learning. And if then suddenly a couple of thousand customers are affected by a problem, that's the small one. I guess the biggest issue in the last couple of months was 350,000 users being affected. And that adds completely new dimension or a new type of challenge to the problem. Because even if you want to mail them, if you mail a couple 100,000 people, it takes a couple hours. And of course, until they open these emails. And so there is the sheer size of it that I never was exposed to, that I never had to handle with our small team, as excitement alone already here
That's
compared
great.
to much
Okay.
smaller. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of what I expected. But yeah, let's talk about that, right? And like I said, there are a lot of tools that you've built over the years.
Mhm.
And, obviously RPM just riding that wave, like you said, ChatGPT, the trend
Mhm.
and everything. But, getting lookers and first adopters is kind of easy, right? You just
Mhm.
put your product on Product Hunt and there you go. You got a couple of
Yeah.
hundred people who are interested. But
Yeah.
making people stay is a bit of a different thing, right?
Right.
And
Right.
well, first of all, great product, right? But
Mhm.
what else are you doing? You mentioned a community, you mentioned some kind of
Mhm.
challenges. How,
Yeah.
yeah, what is your growth strategy basically? What is your
Mhm.
customer acquisition? How did it shape in, such a short period of time?
Mhm. You mentioned the community already. That was an idea, but in hindsight, a brilliant move early on in January, because the models, ChatGPT updates their models all the time, and then the prompts stopped working the way they did. And you often hear people complain, oh, it doesn't work anymore, it got lazy, this and that. But that's just because the behavior changed. And by having a community of 10,000s of users contributing these prompts, they tweak and improve their prompts over time as well to combat what this is called the prompt drift. So this living community prompt database is really number one reason for the continued success. We could not do that. We cannot handle that just from the volume and also from the topics. And that, on the other hand, helps us to measure which prompts work, which don't. And if you think about Google and the search ranking algorithms, a lot of the learnings from the last decades are built into the AIPM prompt library as well to surface the good working prompts and demote the spam, of course, gets removed automatically, but also rank back demote prompts that are not working at the moment. And so that dynamic, this ongoing, so to say, self-healing, self-maintaining um, living prompt library is, from my point of view, not only the number one reason why it's still useful after 1.5 years, but also why people can stick with it. And even if they are not the authors of the prompts, these prompts get updated sometimes every day. I see some of them updated more often than my own. And that's the number. Well, it already leads over to the stability. If you have a platform, if you have a software, a product that just works, that is, besides the specifics for AIPM and the prompt, I guess the general rule for any kind of SaaS business, if it's unstable and if it loses data, if it doesn't perform well or doesn't grow or doesn't scale, people will just leave because they cannot use it. It sounds trivial, but it's not. When ChatGPT has an outage, we get hundreds of complaints because they blame us, and vice versa. And that means a couple thousand users cannot work at the same time. So we're somehow tied into their stability as well. But that has been a major effort in the last 12 months to just improve response times, improve stability, always have notifications for us, and also self-healing mechanisms in the infrastructure. It's like Google. If you go to Google and it would be offline, what do? You go somewhere else. And once that habit changes, once people don't have the initial trigger to go to your product, you lost them. And with all, you know, there's a lot to talk about churn and user habits from a marketing standpoint and from a product functionality standpoint. But I hear very few people talk or even sugarcoat the problem of software stability. If there's a database problem and your data gets lost, like Linear had a couple thousand tickets lost, and if there's data loss involved, holy cow, what else can you trust? What else do you need? If your data is gone, I don't need any other shiny feature, right? So it starts at that core level, and operating a system for a long time for a lot of users, always with consistent quality, technical quality, is very hard, very very hard. That's one of my favorite things to work with because it's such a hard riddle sometimes. But I guess if people have that, and with AIPRM they have that, they have their own prompts that tweak them exactly for their brand, exactly for their company, maybe their product line, and then there are daily use cases. Users have dozens or even hundreds of own prompts, private prompts in that case, that they save. And once you have that developed, you're kind of locked in. Then we just need to make sure that we don't screw it up by being not available or slow, or, you know, there's a million things that can go wrong in such complex systems. Yeah. And I guess that is also for LinkResearchTools the top priority. Alerts whenever things go down, whenever things are slow. Um, yeah, I guess a lot of software developers would disagree and say, "Oh, it's not so important," and you can always talk about that. But when you combine these requirements from a business standpoint, that's actually the top priority. I'd rather have a much faster system and no new feature for a couple of months rather than new features that maybe sell and an unstable system. You could call it an hygiene factor also, but from a software standpoint, from a software product marketing standpoint, I guess that's the only thing we have under full control. And then besides that, of course, marketing, product development, um, the community. Yeah. But if the system is down, nothing else matters. Nothing. Yeah. You can only send
Right.
so many sorry we screwed up mails a month or so.
That's true. That's true. So you're completely POG driven, right? Like,
Hmm.
uh, if the product is good, people
Yeah.
will. We tend to say it's not true, right? If the product is good, people are going to buy. But I mean, there's so many contrary to that saying examples that I don't know.
Hmm.
Sometimes I'm shaky on that. But we talked about it here on the podcast a lot, actually. Like,
Hmm.
if if companies should set up their infrastructure from the beginning in order to scale and kind of, invest in that from the
Hmm.
beginning, maybe spend a bit more money and
Yeah.
kind of hope that it will grow, or not do that and then
Hmm.
kind of hope that at the point it grows, they will have enough resources to just like fix
Hmm.
it.
Hmm.
Quick fix
Uh,
it.
yeah, I'm torn here because on the one hand, there is a certain way that we do things that are already so scalable and so, let's say, default, that are not the default in many companies. So we're kind of cheating there anyways, right? We just don't do some kind of things that are very popular in the software development community, for example, or database community or so. AIPM started on until the first 1.8 million users on a test system that we ran that we had more or less sitting around for testing stuff on LinkResearchTools. So that was just there. So we used that, and it worked for a long time already. If you have to start from scratch, that may require more investments, but the investment is not the machine, it's not the hardware, it's not the infrastructure. The investment is the time to learn to operate more machines. If you have a database that has 20 physical machines, for example, you need some automation, you need experience with Ansible and other technologies to maintain them easily. You cannot, go and log into every machine and check for one thing, right? So learning that or having someone who can do that already is the challenge. And finding them is a challenge. Retaining them is a challenge if you don't have the business to support that infrastructure. I guess it's a little bit of a chicken egg problem here also. But one thing is clear: once the viral wave comes in, you have zero time for any of your plans to expand. I know everyone loves the cloud, and Amazon loves the cloud as well because they go in for cheap and then they suddenly have a bill with 5 or 6 figures sum per month just for running basic database services. Amazon loves that. They did a fantastic job indoctrinating more or less the whole software engineering community on that concept. If you do it like that, you feel you could grow automatically, but you will also pay automatically a lot more. And there's other ways to start better prepared and not have the cost risk there. But my point is, once virality hits you, once you get really successful, you want to build on that. You want to stabilize that. You want to, you know, nurture that customer base. And if you then start a software and infrastructure migration project and start thinking about what we could improve, it's too late. Because by the time you start thinking about it, they already hit you. The database already crashed. You are constantly putting out fires and have zero time to even think about improvements. And that's what we see a lot in general in the software industry. Even providers that have been around for years may get hit with a viral success that really takes them down. And so I would rather say you need the people first. If you don't have someone who can run a database with 20 database nodes, you will have a hard time setting that up anyways, even if you can pay for it. And then you want to finance that where you have some flexibility on infrastructure providers. But thinking big with AIPRM and thinking big with LinkResearchTools always helped me. Always prepare for that. Worst case, you have a very complex infrastructure that at some point you just need to scale back and reduce it. If you're losing customers that did not acquire them in the first place, okay, then shrinking is also not easy. But at least then you don't have the pressure to serve more users in an efficient way, right? So that's that. Yeah, and of course, capital, experience, all of these things come together. It's not a simple decision, but if you fail preparing, it will be a bad awakening. You won't be happy about your success. That's what I think. If you leave that out, yeah. If you
Okay.
try to shortcut it, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, is there a new project already that you're thinking about, or you're fully in love with AIPRM for now?
AIPRM, in fact, is an umbrella of products that we started developing. We have AIPRM Cockpit for a much more flexible interface, completely independent from OpenAI, where you can run all the AIPRM magic against Mistral and Anthropic and all of them. And this is my daily tool. We use it already. It's just more complex, more functionality, and therefore harder to make it work for hundred thousands of users. This is what we're working on right now. It's still in the same business, still the same concept. And we've been working on that for a while. Having retrieval augmented data expanding prompts or combining prompts with your private databases. There's a couple tools out there, open source projects that all get a lot of press, and they all suck. They are so bad. It's impossible to use even on my own computer, let alone for thousands of users or 100,000 of users. So we have that in the works since October last year. And again, here's the scalability issue. If you launch that and you have a couple thousand users, adopt it and pay for it and love it, you will hate yourself for launching it too early if it doesn't perform. So that's another thing. And there's a couple, and these are just the public ones, and there's a couple other projects that we're working on already under the AIPRM umbrella. But once you have that big user base, you cannot simply flip a switch and change things around. So migrating product, migrating software, migrating infrastructure, migrating users and users' behavior becomes exponentially harder if you have something that works. If you just, going from 0 to 1, you try this, you try that. That's so much fun. You cannot go wrong with that. Just try another thing. And so these experiments are very enjoyable, but on the other hand, also very risky on an existing product, no matter
Okay.
what. Yeah.
Well, hopefully, next year we do another one of these and learn what you've built next. But so far, what do you think has been the biggest win and the biggest failure?
Biggest win by far was just putting out the prompts with AIPM in the first couple of days. Again, with the gut feeling, oh, do I really want to share that? Should I really give that to them? No, I don't want to share that. But once you if you have that feeling, and I had this a couple of times with AIPM now and also before with LinkResearchTools, if it feels too good to be given away, too good to be shared, then it's a potential success. Yeah, and I did that night. And that specific prompt, I thought about the Outrank article prompt that I enjoyed so much. It was so controversial on the one hand, so successful on the other hand, and got copied hundreds of times already in other prompts. You know, going beyond your gut feeling and saying, screw it, let's try that. What else? Is a win against my own, I would say, reservations, against my own limitations that you put on yourself. And that's probably one of the hardest things to do then. Yeah. If you have kind of shaky or a nervous feeling or maybe even sweaty hands doing something, then that's right. Yeah. And then it's like going on stage for the first time, I guess.
We're doing the podcast for like a couple of hundredths time.
Yeah.
Still
Exactly. Yeah.
sweaty
Yeah.
hands. But yeah, what about the failure?
Yeah. I guess screwing up email marketing and not mailing 300,000 users for weeks was probably the worst one. If you don't have a marketing function, if you don't have real sales, if you don't have a funnel elsewhere to market, and you screw that up and you don't even notice for a while, I guess that's the biggest failure, my personal failure, because it was my code, my responsibility, my screw up. I did not have it reviewed and I did not even notice. Right? So that's a combination of failures, I guess, here. And if I would be my own boss, I would probably fire myself for it. If I wouldn't know all the other things, I would have my hands in there, right? But that's a really nasty one. I guess just because of the size, because of the scale of the issue, a technical issue, it's a marketing issue too, right? How can you not, notice if you're too busy on other places, of course. But yeah, I guess that was. Oh yeah, I get another failure. Hey, I almost forgot about that one because you mentioned everything becomes a success. Impactana in 2015, I woke up and said, let's build a search engine. Let's build a search engine for marketers. What can possibly go wrong, right? We have the crawling, we got the database skills and all that. Yeah, it turns out building a search engine and charging money for it is not a great business idea, besides all the technical ones. So we ended that project. I guess we learned a lot there also. But from a business standpoint, money spent for over 2 years, in development and marketing and having three different types of logos and swag with it before you even had a customer, that was a very excessive, costly failure, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. Don't try that at home. Don't build a
Yeah,
social
while
media.
you were talking, all the marketers were like, "Ooh, that was
Yeah.
wrong."
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So
But
that was a big
yeah,
one. Yeah.
that must have hurt. But okay, thanks for sharing. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, lots of learnings there. So the last question is always about a hack, right? And again, can be anything, can be, how to nail a great prompt, how to
Mhm.
pivot, ideate, whatever.
Mhm.
Something that
Mhm.
works for you.
It took me years to find out how to do job interviews. I wasted so much time in job interviews, in meetings, in calls. Well, now in Zoom calls or previously in meetings, meeting rooms, all the cookies, all the chocolate that was on the table, always eaten by me. Um, what a waste of my lifetime. I realized with the remote first or remote only change that we had in my companies, that interviewing people first in a chat, in a Slack chat, or in a, it could be, even a WhatsApp chat, just writing with that person, the best filter or the best way to know if someone is compatible with our, of course, remote first, async first, just writing in chat first. Because I had a lot of people on my teams that couldn't write fast or English or both. And if that doesn't work, what are you going to do in a remote world? I, you know, my best guy, Tibor, that I work with for 14 years now, also said, why did we not come up with that first? What took us so long? I don't know. I have no idea. It's so obvious when you think about it. But yeah, sometimes just after a couple of minutes, it's clear it won't work. If it doesn't work in the first couple minutes or first couple hours or first couple days, yeah, maybe that's a second hack. Things don't get better. If it feels bad, it ends bad. If it starts bad, it ends bad. You need some time to develop a team. You need some time to develop a relation. But if it doesn't click more or less fast, that moment won't come at any time. I tried it all. A couple of weeks, couple of months, a year. No, never worked out in the end. Then, yeah, I guess some people will call it a higher fast, fire fast mentality, but it's rather. I would rather call it a gut feeling. Your gut, you know these things. You can always rationalize stuff, but you feel it, and that has always been true. No, no model, no trick, no rule set, no checklist. You don't need any of that. You feel it, and that's I guess when it comes to hiring. Yeah, and
True. Okay. I think
yeah.
that's a very good one.
Mhm.
Well, first of all, interestingly, that's the second time somebody tells me that hack over, 150, almost 150 episodes.
Mhm.
And yeah, I absolutely agree. I even read somewhere that like HR managers actually, recruiting managers, sorry, actually need 40 seconds to actually scan you and realize if it's a fit or not fit. And I kind of believe in that because, well, if you've been with the
Mhm.
company for a while, that
Mhm.
vibe check, it's very quick. Like you said, it's a click or
Mhm.
not.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
easy.
Oh wow, 40 seconds. That's
That's disturbing.
that sounds that sounds unbelievable. But yeah, I guess especially when you're in person, when you have all the other dimensions, so to say, and not just a picture and audio. I guess there are some people who could do that. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing it. I think it's
Hmm.
a great one. And I feel like at the end of the day, hacks about people and hiring culture are the most that are being shared because I feel like
Yeah.
it's the near and dear topic to all the founders.
Yeah.
So,
I guess so. I mean, I'm also not a people person, or and maybe other technical people, technical founders, software developers are not the most social or most human skilled people, maybe because of that. I guess technology is easy. You can always look it up. It always has logic, and so you just need to dive in. That's the easy part, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing this story and sharing,
Thank you,
all
Anna.
the wisdom that you've gained over the years and all the ideas that you're working on. Super excited. Like I said, we'll be happy to do it again next
Mhm.
year and see what you come up with.
I look forward to it, Anna.
Thank you so much for your time and take
Thank
care.
you.